What if I told you there is a book locked inside one of the most respected libraries in the world? A book filled with strange symbols, unknown plants, mysterious women, zodiac signs, astronomical circles, and hundreds of pages of writing that no one on Earth can read, not historians, not linguists, not code breakers, not even modern artificial intelligence. For more than 100 years, experts have stared at its pages trying to understand what it says. Some believed it was a medical book. Some believed it was a book of magic. Some believed it contained lost knowledge from the Middle Ages. Others believed it was the greatest hoax ever created. But the strangest part is this. The writing does not look random. It has patterns. It has rhythm. It has structure. It behaves like a real language, and yet, no known language in human history matches it. This is the story of the Voynich Manuscript, the book no one can read. A book that may contain forgotten knowledge, or nothing at all. For centuries, humans have tried to preserve knowledge. We carved it into stone. We painted it on cave walls. We wrote it on papyrus, parchment, paper, and skin. Every ancient book tells us something. A war, a religion, a medicine, a map, a secret. But every once in a while, history gives us something different, something that refuses to explain itself. Something that looks like knowledge, but hides behind a locked door. The Voynich Manuscript is one of those things. It is not just a strange book, it is a puzzle made of ink, drawings, symbols, and silence. A puzzle that has survived wars, fires, collectors, scientists, libraries, and centuries of questions. And somehow, after all this time, it is still unreadable. The story begins in the year 1912. A rare book dealer named Wilfred Voynich was traveling through Europe. Voynich was not an ordinary bookseller. He searched for forgotten manuscripts, ancient texts, and valuable historical documents. He knew that sometimes the most important pieces of history were not sitting in museums. They were hidden in old libraries, locked inside private collections, forgotten in dusty rooms, or buried deep inside religious archives. In 1912, Voynich visited a Jesuit college near Rome. There, among many old books and manuscripts, he found something unusual. A small book, old, fragile, written on parchment. At first glance, it looked like a medieval scientific manuscript. But when he opened it, he saw something he could not understand. Page after page, filled with strange writing, curving letters, repeating symbols. Words that looked organized, but belonged to no language he knew. Then came the drawings, plants that did not match any known species, stars and moons, circular diagrams, naked women standing in strange green pools, tubes, pipes, astrological signs, and mysterious patterns that looked like scientific charts from another world. Voynich believed he had found something extraordinary. Maybe a lost scientific book, maybe a coded message, maybe a secret text from the Middle Ages. And from that moment, the book became known by his name, the Voynich Manuscript. But Voynich was not the first person to own it. Inside the manuscript, there was a clue, a letter. This letter suggested that the book had once passed through the hands of important historical figures. One of the names connected to it was Emperor Rudolph II, the Holy Roman Emperor in the late 16th and early 17th century. Rudolph was not just a ruler. He was obsessed with strange knowledge, alchemy, astrology, magic, science, hidden forces, forbidden books. He filled his court in Prague with artists, astronomers, mathematicians, magicians, and alchemists. To understand why this matters, you have to understand the world at that time. Science and magic were not always separated the way they are today. A man could study the stars as an astronomer, and also believe those stars controlled human destiny. A doctor could prescribe herbs, and also use symbols, planets, and spiritual forces in healing. An alchemist could study real chemical reactions while also trying to turn metal into gold. So if a strange, unreadable manuscript existed anywhere, Rudolph's court was exactly the kind of place where it might appear. According to one story, Rudolph may have paid a huge amount of money for the manuscript. Some accounts say he believed it was written by Roger Bacon, a famous medieval scholar from the 13th century. Roger Bacon was known for his interest in science, optics, language, and experimental knowledge. If people believed the manuscript was written by him, then the book was not just strange, it was priceless. But there is a problem. That claim has never been proven. And as researchers later discovered, the manuscript was probably not as old as Roger Bacon's lifetime. Still, the rumor helped create the legend, a mysterious, unreadable book, possibly connected to emperors, possibly connected to alchemists, possibly connected to lost medieval science, and from the beginning, nobody could say exactly what it was. The Voynich Manuscript is not a huge book. Today, it has around 240 pages, but some pages are missing. That means the original book was longer. The pages are made of vellum, which is prepared animal skin. This was common in medieval manuscripts. Before cheap paper became widely available in Europe, important books were often written on parchment or vellum. And this detail is extremely important because vellum can be dated. In the early 21st century, scientists tested the material using radiocarbon dating. The result was shocking. The parchment was dated to the early 15th century, around the years 1404 to 1438. That means the physical material of the book is about 600 years old. This discovery proved one important thing. The Voynich manuscript is not a modern fake. The parchment is genuinely medieval. But that only created a bigger mystery, because if the material is real, and then who wrote it, why did they write it, and what language were they using? The manuscript is written from left to right. This matters because different writing systems have different directions. Arabic and Hebrew are written from right to left. Traditional Chinese could be written vertically. But the Voynich script flows from left to right, like Latin-based European writing. The text is organized into lines and paragraphs. There are spaces between words. There are repeated patterns. Some words appear many times. Some symbols appear more often than others. This is exactly what you would expect from a real language. Real languages are not random. Letters repeat, words repeat. Certain sounds appear more than others. Some words are common, some are rare. The Voynich text seems to follow rules. But here's the problem. No one knows what those rules are. The alphabet is unknown, the language is unknown, the meaning is unknown. And every time someone thinks they have solved it, another expert comes along and proves that the solution does not work. Imagine opening a book and seeing words that look almost familiar, but are not. Like a language from a dream. It has rhythm, it has shape, it has order. But the moment you try to read it, it disappears. That is what makes the Voynich manuscript so disturbing. It does not look like nonsense. It looks like a message. a message written by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. But for 600 years, that message has remained silent. And the drawings make the mystery even deeper, because inside the book, there are plants that should not exist, stars arranged in strange patterns, women bathing in impossible machines, and diagrams that look like medicine, astronomy, astrology, and biology, all mixed together. So what exactly is inside the Voynich Manuscript, and why do some researchers believe it may contain a forgotten system of knowledge? That is where the mystery truly begins. When researchers study the Voynich Manuscript, they usually divide it into sections, not because the book explains itself, but because the drawings seem to follow different themes. There is a botanical section, an astronomical section, a biological section, a cosmological section, a pharmaceutical section, and a final section made mostly of text. But each section creates more questions than answers. The botanical section is one of the strangest parts of the book. It contains drawings of plants, large plants, detailed plants, roots, leaves, flowers, stems, all carefully drawn. At first, you might think this is a normal medieval herbal book. Herbal books were common in the Middle Ages. They showed plants and explained how they could be used as medicine. A plant for fever, a plant for pain, a plant for wounds, a plant for poison. But when experts looked closely at the plants in the Voynich Manuscript, something was wrong. Many of them do not match any known plant. Not exactly. Some leaves look like one species, the roots look like another. The flowers look like something else entirely. It is almost as if the plants were invented, or combined from different real plants, or drawn from a system we no longer understand. Some researchers believe the plants may be symbolic. Others believe they may be badly copied from real herbals. Some think the illustrator may have never seen the original plants and was drawing from descriptions. But there is another possibility, a much stranger one. What if the plants were never meant to be identified visually? What if they were part of a code? What if the root, the flower, the number of leaves, and the shape of the stem were all carrying information? If that is true, then the drawings are not illustrations, they are keys. But keys to what? Then comes the astronomical section. Here, the manuscript becomes even more mysterious. We see circles, stars, suns, moons, zodiac symbols, circular diagrams filled with tiny figures. Some pages look like medieval astrology. And that makes sense because in the Middle Ages, astronomy and astrology were closely connected. People studied the sky not only to understand the universe, but also to understand human fate. The position of the stars could be linked to health, birth, death, fortune, and disease. Doctors sometimes used astrology to decide when to treat a patient. Kings used astrologers to choose the right moment for political decisions. So maybe the Voynich Manuscript was a medical and astrological guide. Maybe it explained how plants, stars, and the human body were connected. But again, there is a problem. The text cannot be read, the diagrams cannot be fully explained, and the system does not clearly match any known medieval tradition. It feels familiar, but unreachable. Then there is the biological section. This is the part that makes many viewers stop and stare. Page after page, we see small naked women. They stand inside green pools. They hold strange objects. They appear inside tubes, pipes, and containers. Some seem to be bathing. Some seem to be connected to one another by channels. The drawings look medical, but also symbolic. They look like anatomy, but not anatomy as we know it. Some researchers believe these images may represent the human body. Perhaps the pools are organs, perhaps the tubes are blood vessels. Perhaps the women represent internal forces or stages of health or fertility or more birth. Others believe the drawings are connected to medieval bathing culture, or healing waters, or alchemical transformation. But no one knows for sure, and that uncertainty is what keeps the manuscript alive, because every answer opens another question. If it is a medical book, why is the language unreadable? If it is a code, why are the pictures so strange? If it is a hoax, why is it so complex? And if it is a real language, why has no one decoded it? Over the years, many people have tried. Professional cryptographers studied it, linguists studied it, historians studied it, mathematicians studied it, computer scientists studied it. Even people who broke military codes became interested in the mystery. But the Voynich Manuscript resisted them all. One theory says the book is written in a secret code. This would make sense. The Middle Ages and Renaissance were full of secret writing. Scholars, diplomats, alchemists, and political figures sometimes used codes to protect sensitive information. If the Voynich Manuscript contains valuable knowledge, the author may have hidden it on purpose. But most codes can eventually be broken, especially if the text is long. And the Voynich Manuscript is very long. Hundreds of pages should give researchers enough material to identify patterns. Yet no accepted solution has been found. Another theory says it is written in a lost language. Maybe the manuscript records a language that disappeared, a language spoken by a small group, a language never written anywhere else. If that is true, then the book may be the only surviving record of that language. But again, there is a problem. Languages leave traces. They connect to other languages. They borrow words. They belong to families. So far, the Voynich language has not been convincingly connected to any known language family. Another theory says the manuscript is a hoax, a fake, a meaningless book created to fool a wealthy buyer. This is possible. Remember, Emperor Rudolph II was fascinated by mysterious knowledge. A clever fraudster could have created a strange-looking book, filled it with fake writing and bizarre drawings, and sold it for a fortune. But this theory also has problems. Creating a meaningless fake of this length on real parchment with consistent writing patterns would require enormous effort. Why would someone spend so much time creating nonsense? And how did they create text that still behaves statistically like language? That is why some people believe the Voynich Manuscript is not random at all. They believe it contains meaning, but meaning locked behind a system we have not found yet. In modern times, computers have joined the search. Researchers have used statistical analysis, pattern recognition, and artificial intelligence to study the manuscript. Some studies suggest the text has features of natural language. Others suggest it may be artificially constructed. Some claim they have found Hebrew. Some claim Latin. Some claim Old Turkish. Some claim a shorthand system. Some claim it is a women's health manual. Some claim it is an alchemical text. But none of these claims has become the final accepted answer. The manuscript remains unsolved, and maybe that is the most powerful thing about it. In a world where we believe everything can be searched, translated, scanned, uploaded, and explained, the Voynich Manuscript still says no. It sits quietly in the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University. Digitized, studied, magnified, downloaded by people all over the world, and yet still silent. 600 years after it was created, we still do not know who wrote it. We do not know what it says. We do not know why it was made. We do not know whether it is science, medicine, magic, code, language, or deception. But maybe the real mystery is not only the book. Maybe the real mystery is us. Why are we so obsessed with unreadable things? Why does a silent book bother us so much? Maybe because humans cannot stand locked doors. We want every symbol to speak, every page to explain itself, every mystery to have an ending. But the Voynich Manuscript refuses. It gives us drawings, but no explanation. It gives us writing, but no voice. It gives us structure, but no meaning. It feels like a message sent across centuries from someone who either wanted to be understood or wanted to remain hidden forever. And that is why the Voynich Manuscript is still the most mysterious book in the world. Not because it is old, not because it is beautiful, not because it is strange, but because it stands in front of human knowledge and reminds us of something uncomfortable. There are still things we do not understand. There are still voices from the past we cannot hear. There are still pages in history that refuse to be read. So the next time you see an image of the Voynich Manuscript, look closely at the symbols, at the plants, at the stars, at the women in green pools, and ask yourself, is this the work of a genius, a madman, a fraud, a forgotten culture, or someone who discovered something and decided the world was not ready to read it? For now, the book remains closed, not physically, but mentally. The pages are open, the ink is visible, the drawings are clear, but the meaning is still locked away. And until someone finds the key, the Voynich Manuscript will continue to whisper from the darkness in a language no one can understand.